She didn't even realize she was on the screen.
For me?
Yes.
Oh,
Hello. Hello, everybody. It is FEM Talk Tuesday. We are back for another Tuesday evening. And as always, we have an amazing show for you. We have a powerhouse woman in the background waiting backstage. I hope she's comfortable back there, eating something good, drinking something good. But we're going to get into some great conversation this evening. But before we do, the three of us, you know what we talk about first before we bring our guests on. Here we go.
hot
Hot topic. So, everybody out there, Brandy, take it away on this hot topic.
Yeah, oh my gosh. We had a whole nother topic lined up, but I had to touch on this one tonight. So, apparently our boy, Kanye West, is no longer a billionaire.
Right.
This man has gone from a $2 billion net worth to about 400 million. So, according to this article, the superstar rapper no longer has a place on the Forbes billionaire list now that his lucrative deal with Adidas is over. So, just days ago, the rapper, come fashion, never heard that term, entrepreneur Kanye West challenged Adidas to drop him following a weeks-long barrage of anti-Semitic remarks made on social media and in national media appearances. He literally said via Twitter, here's a little clip of it right here.
The thing about it being Adidas is like, I could literally say they can't drop me. I could say anti-Semitic things and Adidas can't drop me.
Well, Kanye was wrong. He got dropped like a bad habit after a little back and forth. So currently, according to Forbes as well as CNN Money, Kanye West is currently worth about $400 million now. So what I learned from this, and y'all might too, when you're making certain levels of money, there's certain stuff you can't do. Kanye West just figured out what some of that stuff is.
Right. Don't say what you can't.
Okay, here's the deal, right? Obviously, there's a contract involved, right? So, did you have your attorneys read the fine print in your contract? That's number one.
Right.
Right. Number two, why on earth would you mention that you can say anti-Semitic comments and not get dropped? Like, why would you go on?
But on top of that, too, even if you're talking about a specific segment of our Jewish brethren, all Jews stick together. Period. It doesn't matter if you're talking about who some folks that refer to satanic Jews or not. Jewish people stick together. Anybody with eyes and knowledge of history know that. So there's certain things you just can't do once you reach certain levels of things when the money comes from certain aspects of life. Like if you're dependent on contracts, vendors, working corporate relationships, things like that, what you say is a representation of those companies, which means, yes, you can and will get dropped because politics come before money depending on the situation.
Right.
Because politics affect money.
And listen, that particular industry is so lucrative, right? So for him, and that's something that gives longevity, right? And legacy. So for him to drop for him to have this, it's the Yeezy brand, right? Dropped from Adidas. I mean, this is huge. But listen, I don't feel bad for him because $400 million is not too shabby either. However, let's just say that net worth does not equal liquidity either. So let's just put that out there, right? So he's worth 400 million, everybody. It doesn't mean that he's got 400 million sitting in the bank.
Right. So on top of that, y'all, those of you that own Yeezys, they just became collectibles.
Right.
Because no more are being produced.
Right. Right.
As many Yeezys are in the world is as many Yeezys as there's ever gonna be. Y'all just came up on something. You better hold on to them, keep them in good condition, and sit on them for about another 5-10 years. Y'all gonna be able to pay for your children's college funds with them joints, okay?
And I beg to differ, though. I beg to differ. They might not be worth much of anything in 5 to 10 years.
It depends. You never know. What collectibles are kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning that
unless he passes away.
I'm working with a bunch of collectibles right now on behalf of a third party, and it's some intensive research. Like depending on manufacturing and condition and everything like that, could literally be the difference between thousands of dollars and like $50. It's crazy.
That's why when you see like a pair of Jordans, right? You'll have one pair that's like this specialty pair of Jordans. The other pair is not. And there's a very slight difference. And they look the same, right? To the eye, to the naked eye, they may look the same. There's something that's very slight that's different, but one price is, up here $700, and another price is maybe $120, right? So that could
look like the same shoe, but the color and the texture of the shoe could be the difference between hundreds of dollars.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So y'all, as you pop on, be sure to connect with us. Say hello. Let us know how you're feeling this fine evening. And before we move any further, sis, I actually have an announcement about a conference coming up in December. So y'all bear with us. We got the Empowerment Conference of 2022. The theme of the conference is going to be the vision realized. So our very good girl friend Tidra Martin will be hosting this conference, and y'all know I don't be traveling anywhere for any reason, but in this instance I will actually be present at this conference and speaking at this conference. So if you're interested, it's going to be December 16th through 17th of this year in Valdosta, Georgia. Go ahead and go to empowermentconference2022.com to get more information, check out ticket prices, and connect with Tidra to get more information if you need to know like what the arrangements are, what the prices of hotel rooms and things in the area might be, stuff like that. Reach out. She's a wonderful, amazing sister queen, and she will take care of y'all. So get out there. Y'all know I don't do much outside of this here house of mine if it's not like one-on-one and stuff like that. But in this instance, I will actually be present because Tidra Martin has been a blessing to me. She's the reason why I have learned and being successful at trading stock options. And right now, it's really good to be trading some stock options.
Yes.
I love it. So where is Valdosta, Georgia, though? What is it close to?
No, don't ask me these kinds of questions. I barely know where places in my own state is. All I know is I'm driving, I'll be happy, I'm gonna share my knowledge, I'm gonna get poured into, I'm about to experience some amazing stuff, because before anything, first and foremost, teacher puts God first in everything she does. So this is going to be a very powerful conference. That's why I'm so very excited about it. And she, like me, is very responsible as far as being aware of COVID and everything. So that's another reason why I plan on going.
Is she near Valdosta? Does she live in Valdosta?
I'm not certain if she lives in Valdosta. I just know Valdosta is a very nice area. But it's a smaller area, so it's not congested like Atlanta, from what I understand. So that's why
it's about 2 hours from Atlanta. It's about 2 hours from Savannah, 2 hours from Atlanta.
Oh, so it's like back dab in the middle of things. All right, cool.
All right.
Okay.
It's 4. Oh, somebody said 4 hours.
Yep.
Oh, I said it.
I don't care how far it is. I'm going.
Okay.
You guys, you know how we do on this show. We have our moments.
Senior and All right, y'all. So if you come up on that time, it's time to bring in our wonderful guest. Her name is Michele, the Pain-Free PA Johnson. Yes, 2 Johnsons in the house tonight. Thank you. But this young woman, she is a wife. She is a mother. She is an advocate against burnout and stress, especially amongst us Black women, because we hold a lot of it. And that's part of what this conversation we're about to have tonight is about. And on top of that, she is also an ICF certified master life coach by way of the ICC Life Coach Institute. In fact, we both are master life coaches by way of the ICC Life Coach Institute. So without further ado, y'all, we're going to drop it to a short commercial break. And when we get back, our girl Michele will be joining us for this conversation.
Yes.
Operate out of your dreams and your vision and not other people's expectation. Having breast cancer wasn't my choice, but the decision to live healthy so that I could stand before you here today, that's choice. you can choose this very moment to change your life from every perspective.
Tracy Randolph was our speaker. She came back because so many people liked her first presentation. I was one of those people that joined her fitness group, and it made me a better leader.
I grew up in a community, but they had limiting beliefs on what a little black girl could do. Everything that you do in this life is a choice. I choose to live healthy. I choose to change my mindset. I choose to be everything that I dreamed of because I choose faith and I choose me. Live healthy, be everything that you can be today. Choose yourself.
All right. So we want everybody to give a virtual round of applause to Michele Johnson.
I'm so excited!
You up top, yes. And I wanted to give a shout out to my mom out there saying hello, ladies. Hey, mommy.
Hey, Miss Regina.
Hey, Mama Pig.
All right.
So I'm gonna go ahead and do it because y'all already know me. I might say something make you remind everybody. We got the disclaimer, y'all.
What happens when that comes up?
This program are those of the individual speakers, commenters, guests, experts, and/or hosts. They do not explicitly or necessarily reflect nor represent the network, broadcaster, channel, and/or program's policy, or the views held by this network, broadcaster, channel, or program. The network, broadcaster, channel, or program cannot be held accountable for all or any views expressed during this program. That includes how I feel about Kanye West today.
And wait, I have to give away some of the stuff that happens backstage. So as Brandy is reading, Shima's head is like, Shima, you are the funniest backstage. On camera and
it was inflection for every word.
I know.
So
I know, I got it, but I swear you need to do the bloopers reel for sure. It's hilarious.
It's a whole experience backstage. Like y'all are amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Michele, you're amazing. Introduce yourself.
Introduce myself. Well, first of all, what an honor to be asked to be on FEM Talk amongst these powerful, incredible ladies who I count amongst my friends in business. Thank you for having me here. It's such a home space. Okay. I am known as the Pain-Free PA. I am the chief stress strategist of that company because as a physician assistant in family medicine, traveling from China to Cuba, learning about holistic healthcare, I have come across so many of us who stress has affected our body. It has become that river that actually turned into the Grand Canyon in our lives and has made us unhealthy, sick, come down with cancer, strokes, abdominal issues, headaches. And so it has been my mission to mitigate that stress in business, in personal lives by human design training and getting you on the page where you see yourself as a human being and not a human doing. And so I have fun with that. That's what
Okay, so I love how you just did that, Ms. Michele, as a human being, not a human doing. I absolutely love that. Okay. Be
nice.
I do. Yes, absolutely. Love that. I have to say too, though, I have to put this in there before we get real serious, because I know you're like, you're so on point as a medical professional. However, this young lady is so much fun. What?
She knows how to have a good time.
So I brought my FEM Talk cup.
Yay!
Speaking of fun, I won this as a prize because these ladies feed into my competitive spirit. So yes, I'm gonna have a good time, and I appreciate you bringing the joy to the conversation. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
absolutely. My jump partner, we're gonna get him. We're gonna get him next year, girl. We're gonna get him.
So she bringing up high vibe. For y'all who don't know, there was a situation where we was robbed. We were supposed to win. Sheila is tapping because I believe she was on the winning team. I can't remember.
Yes, she was turning. She was turning.
But there is always next year.
That's right.
Of course. There's always an opportunity to come back.
Well, all things considered, I may be very well present for High Vibe next year.
Come on with it.
Things have died down. I feel comfortable traveling.
Shout out to Carrie Crosby and ATBA Impact.
Yes.
Shout out ATBA Impact Group.
Yes. High vibe.
Yes. So y'all, let's get into this here disparity in healthcare conversation. Absolutely. So the reason that I love this topic is because, one, everybody on here, we don't just talk about the problem. We also talk about the solutions. So one of the disparities in healthcare that I've noticed and done some research on is the higher childbirth mortality rate amongst Black women. According to statistics, compared to the overall number of 23.8 deaths for every 100,000 women, of those, of that, 55.3 are the number for Black women. So that's overall. If you consider all women, it's 23.8. If you consider just Black women, 55.3 for every 100,000 births.
Sometimes that's a little hard to wrap our heads around.
Yeah. Right.
If I could give you a more visible statistic, we are 234 times more likely to die in childbirth and the postpartum complications than white women. 234%.
Wow.
This was a statistic as of last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was as of 2020, and they had stated that it's gone up since then. So, to those of us here this fine evening, what do we believe are the contributing factors to this?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Where do you start?
Go ahead, Sheena. Go ahead, Sheena.
No, I just said, where do we start?
Okay.
I can start on the care side, but then I could also start on the self-care side.
Well, why don't we start with a safe space? Why don't we start with an environment that is not blaming, shaming, or setting you up to feel bad about who we are? I just want to start there and level set. Because sometimes we walk into these conversations and there are statistics that can make us feel like what we're not doing. Yes, there are self-care issues and there are survival tactics that we've learned that maybe not be serving us, but not our fault. So I just want to make sure that we come from that level set, that you will not be blamed, shamed, or made to feel guilty in this conversation. Not on my watch. And so just to put that out there, go ahead, Shima. I just want to make sure everybody who's listening at this tonight or on the replay or on ETV when this hits 1 billion people, that y'all realize that this is not that conversation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Because I can definitely say from different things that I watched in regards to this particular topic, there's a lot of finger pointing in. It's this and it's that and it's this and it's that. Yes, it's a racial component to it, but at the end of the day, for every obstacle, there's always a way around it, over, through, under it, whatever it might be. You know what the issues are. And if you don't know what the issues are, we're going to touch on them on tonight's show. We're
Mm-hmm.
also going to touch on how to circumvent those issues.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to come from the physical perspective, right? And habits. And again, not to shame or blame anybody,
Mm-hmm.
but when we look at what we're consuming, it definitely causes problems for our physical being. And I won't go into the other parts of that because there's other parts to that too. But when you look at what's included in our food, and we talked about this on another show about 2 weeks ago, those things have an impact on our ability in childbirth, uh,
Mm-hmm.
to either fully carry or to have a healthy child right at birth. So I just want to put that part out there because I want people to recognize the things that are at our exposure are not always good for us. So to
Right.
those things, and like Michelle said, no shame, no blame, just
Right.
start today to recognize what you're
Mm-hmm.
consuming.
Right.
So I just wanted to bring that up because that's just near and dear to my heart when it comes to the physical portion.
All right.
Yeah.
And Michelle also touched on something interesting and powerful earlier today
Mhm.
about how stress in particular can affect the body, the physical
Mhm.
body. I
Mhm.
believe that Black women's level of stress is elevated compared to other women and is therefore likely contributing to some of our outcomes as far as the higher um, childbirth mortality rate.
Mhm.
Is there issues within the medical system itself?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. But it comes to us advocating for ourselves as well
Mm-hmm.
as learning the mechanisms and exercises that we can do to
Right.
reduce our own stress, whether it be physical, whether it be caused by the free radicals that can be found in our food and things like that.
Exactly.
We have to take it upon ourselves because we know that we're at higher risk. It means we need to be more proactive.
Mhm.
And then too, she mentioned that portion that said, "Don't that we're not going to start from a place of shame."
Mm-hmm.
And the crazy part is, most of the time when we get in those situations where we are afraid but open to share, we are shamed or have been shamed because
Mhm.
we didn't come earlier, or we
Mhm.
didn't make the decision better,
Mhm.
or you made these poor choices and now this is how we have to treat you.
Mhm.
So
Mm,
even though for me, when she said we're going to start from a place of no shame,
Mhm.
that's something that should be also reiterated in the visits, in the
Mhm.
health.
Mhm.
When I actually get up the nerve to say, doctor, nurse, hospital, healthcare provider, whoever, I need help and something is wrong and I feel it,
Mhm.
for us to be listened to, acknowledged,
And
Yeah.
and
sis,
not feel like I can't
what you
say, well,
just
I
said,
didn't know.
what you just said to me really struck a chord in my spirit.
Mhm.
We do have an earned mistrust of the health system.
Mhm.
If you haven't yet read it, Medical Apartheid is a very comprehensive book on the history of the disparity of Black people in our bodies from the time of the antebellum South and slavery till now. And very helpful in revealing some of those statistics insights that are beyond what you feel when you go to the doctor. It's sometimes helpful to know you're not alone. But sister,
Wow.
why it touched my spirit is because I had this experience 2 weeks ago where a woman who looks like me was on the other end of our exchange, and she said, maybe don't make me feel like I made a bad decision
Mhm.
first.
All right.
Mhm. Wow.
mm,
And as a highly conscious, incredibly empathetic, and human medical provider, I am very good at listening to my patients,
Mhm.
making them feel safe and feel heard. But she said this to me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wow.
And when I dial back the conversation, nowhere in my tone did I find her perception, but the impact still was there.
Mm-hmm. And that could be from past visits, right? It really probably had nothing to do with you, what you said. It was probably what she was used to for so long.
Yeah,
That it
you're
just
just the first person that will actually listen as she said it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so my line of questioning made her defensive.
Mm.
And when we broke down that barrier, and I did apologize that was the impact that she felt, because that was not the intention. And whether she goes on to have better experiences or not, she had a good experience with me, despite her feeling that defensiveness initially. But I say that to say there are two sides always to an encounter, and we do have an earned mistrust. And so sometimes we go in with our guards up. Being an advocate is so important. Many of us don't know how to do that without the skills we were taught of what looks like the angry Black woman.
Wow.
I know I'm speaking on a lot, y'all.
Well, I know I've been received as the angry Black woman before, because and depending on the circumstance and situation, I can be assertive and straight to the point, and I'm not taking anybody's excuses or I didn't knows or ignorance to account for why they're not able or willing to provide the service that they would provide to anybody else if it wasn't that I look like I do, or I speak like I do, or my connections are who they are, whatever it might be. At the end of the day, I feel one of the biggest issues, even with in anything, whether it's the banking industry, the education side of things, and medical side of things, it's that you don't see me as a human being first. And that's not my problem.
We know this. But what I'm saying is, in our solution mind, in our going forward from where we are to where we want to be mind, hello, coach, that angry Black woman ain't serving you.
Not at all. But it's conceived as angry Black woman because I am able to articulate exactly what I need in this moment, but you weren't prepared for that. So because I can speak your lingo the way that you understand it, you're now what's it called? You're agitated. You perceive me as an aggressor now because I can play the game just like you, but better.
Not your problem.
Exactly.
Not your problem. My thing is what you go home with, sis. What you go home with after that encounter that done riled you up ain't serving you.
And therefore we come back to that stress piece.
And I'm seeing y'all shaking y'all heads, and I want to make sure we go in the way that Fem Talk wants to go, but I just want to make sure we remember it, whether you're justified in the reaction, whether the reaction is perceived as who gives a damn, because realistically, they ain't the people who sign your paycheck. They ain't the people who's gonna make your next day when you're waking up with breast cancer and strokes and all that shit that, forgive me, that took hold.
That's right.
So we got to do it better way. You know. We know the system is broken. Now everybody's finding out the system is broke because COVID overloaded it and exposed some things. So we already know the system broke.
You need it more than ever now, sis, because burnout has affected everyone. So burnout, my primary care physician is no longer there. My dentist, no longer there. Appointment with my endocrinologist takes 6 months now. My next dentist appointment isn't until August of next year. This is how many people were unable to mentally and spiritually bear what COVID cost, what it caused and what it cost. And the costs are still lingering.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
And we'll continue.
Exactly. And I believe that contributed to why the numbers, our mortality numbers as far as childbirth have gone up too. Because one, we were already low on quality providers that treat everybody equally. And now we're low on providers altogether, which is why it's even more important than ever that we take better care of ourselves and know the signs and symptoms of certain things that can possibly lead to death during or shortly after childbirth. The reason why I say this specifically is because I myself plan on becoming pregnant, which means I'm talking to myself right now, as well as any other citizen out there that is also planning on or currently pregnant.
And I, listen, you guys, Brandy and Michelle, you both said it, right? Advocacy, right? So key. You have to be your own advocate. You can't take everything that is said at face value. You have to do some homework. You have to know your body, right? And you have to be an advocate for yourself and go in armed with questions. And I'm not saying, go in with the guns blazing, right? Just go with the questions and the concern. Have some consideration for the person on the other side too, though, because as Brandy just said, they're inundated, right? And they don't have all of the answers. And one way for one person may not be right for the next person. So whatever they did for the person that came out of the office before you may not be right for you. And you could have the same illness, but that doesn't mean that you need to be treated exactly the same way. So go in with your questions, go in armed, ready to speak to and have a conversation and communicate with that healthcare provider so that you can get the best care possible. But know yourself, know your body, know some of the symptoms that you're experiencing, understand, what's happening in your own life so that you can go in, ready.
So you need more than you.
Right.
Absolutely.
Because I actually have I'm not even pregnant yet, and I have somebody that I definitely would love to be my doula.
You need someone else because you're tired. You're tired of advocating for you.
Yeah.
You're sick when you're trying to advocate for you. I think the word advocate, and we say advocate so often, that sometimes we don't understand quite what that means. And I say it this way because coming with a barrage of questions is not always the answer either. And I say that because you have searched the internet and you have went down the path of Dr. Google, who has took you to death and back. Like Dr. Google is like the executioner. Like Dr. Google is the executioner. Like everything is gonna make you die. And
right.
And so you have questions about the disease that you didn't figured out you got. And now you're walking your provider down that path of some shit that ain't even true. I love how you said know your body. What you want to question about is your symptoms. This is what I'm feeling. Please don't come with a diagnosis. It turns your provider off in the first few seconds when you've already diagnosed yourself. Not only from a position of arrogance, and I know, but from a position of you are leading someone down a path that may not be the right path. Come with your symptoms. Tune into the questions you have are to tune into your body. When did this start? How long has this been going on? Where does it hurt? How does it hurt?
That's right.
Stop being so damn private that your whole family don't know you sick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Step one.
Yeah, that's good right there.
Step one.
They advocate you if you've been keeping this secret for 18 months and nobody freaking can help. So
That's good.
To take a step back, forgive me, y'all. This is
There is nothing to forgive. There is nothing
Right.
wrong with showing passion on this show, sis. We
That's
let it
right.
roll.
77% of the reason why people came to the doctor before the pandemic was stress-related illness. When we start putting together those pieces on the telephone about what's going on with your symptoms, because see, I have a lot more time with my patients to talk with them. It was when your daughter got into that abusive relationship that you started having those palpitations. When did it start? I haven't been able to go to the bathroom well for the past 6 months. So first of all, it's been happening for 6 months. You're not going to the emergency room and you're not dying. Not today. It's been happening for 6 months. So when we talk about these things, because Dr. Google will make you extremely anxious. The questions you want to ask, the advocacy you want to have is knowing your damn self. What are my symptoms? What is it impacting in my life? Because that makes a difference. If I can't walk, that's a different statement than I can't drive, I can't get food, I can't walk to my bathroom. That's a different scenario than I have a limp.
Right.
So I say that in the privacy piece because we've been taught for many of us that, what happens in our house stays in our house. We were taught that when we were touched as a little girl. We were taught when, mom and daddy, somebody was stepping out on each other, keep our mouth shut about stuff. I know I'm stepping on somebody's toes. It's okay.
That's all right.
Point is, you're not alone. Point is, I hear this all the time.
Right. Yeah, band-aids and splints. But you know what? Our community is known for that, and therefore it could be contributing why we are sometimes not taken seriously by our healthcare professionals as well.
It is.
You're a strong woman. In medical books back in antebellum South, they were taught that Black people have thicker skin.
Right.
That we experience pain differently. This was a survey of medical students coming in 2015 thought that Black people experience pain different.
We express our feeling of pain differently, but the pain is still the same level.
Well, we cry out less.
Right. Because it's what Michelle just said, right? Yeah.
Exactly. We cry out less.
Because we've been taught to keep it
exactly.
To keep it silent, to make it on, to go along, to get along, to not thrive. We have a survival mindset.
That's right.
And that stress of survival, fight or flight, freeze and faint has been taking a toll on your body and your parents' body and your parents before them body down to our DNA. The abuses we have suffered, there is an incredible PTSD. Knowing this, solutions.
Come on with the solutions. I love it.
Acknowledge your stress. You have to first acknowledge your stress, acknowledge that there's a problem in order to address it. A lot of us, in my experience, don't realize that a lot of the stress that we experience comes directly from our so-called family. We need boundaries. There's no reason why your mama should call you and be able to ask you about you and your relationship if they're always going to be biased to your side. You should be able to argue as adults. As long as people ain't getting their ass whooped in the situation, it ain't none of their business until it's their business. Once that person you with becomes a member of the family, then you share what you want to share if you want to share. But you don't have to. And my parents, and some parents in particular, would try and pry. And so it was my responsibility to create a boundary saying, everything's good with us. You don't need to know the ins and outs and everything. I'm not getting my ass whooped. There's no domestic disturbance or violence, mental, physical, or otherwise going on here. Every relationship, real relationship or otherwise, has conflict. It's how you resolve that conflict as to whether or not you need to involve other people, whether it be your family, your friends, your coworkers, whoever it might be. Set boundaries in your different relationships. Know who the people in your life are. Friends act like friends. Family act like family. What do I mean by that? Can you call so and so and such if you need something? The same way that you can be called if they need something? Change how you respond to those situations if it's not reciprocal, because it causes unnecessary stress if not.
So that's a maternal health conversation when we're grown about setting boundaries, is what I heard. Because I just told the people to stop being private with their health. Find a person you can trust, is what I heard.
Right, exactly. Know who you can trust. I'm not saying don't share. I'm saying know who to share with, because some people are going to pour gasoline on the situation, and some people are going to help you figure out where to find the flour, the fire extinguisher, or the water to bring it down to a nothing, so we can actually see what the damage is and deal with it.
And when you say, you know, you have people there, right? Like, don't do it alone, because when you're advocating alone, you may drive yourself crazy, right? Because of doubtful people, right? But understand the people that you have in your corner, right? It could just be just support, right? It doesn't mean that they're supposed to be knowledgeable about your situation. It means that they're there to support you, because who you need to go to is the medical professionals, right? And if it requires a second opinion and a third and a fourth to get you where you need to be, then go ahead and get that, right? But just know that your support is your support, and they may not necessarily be knowledgeable about your situation, because that could drive you just as crazy as Dr. Google.
Your share doesn't have to be, I have this.
Right. But
I'm not feeling good, and I haven't been feeling good for 6 months.
Right.
I'm gonna have myself checked out.
Right.
I need you to just.
I need you to be there. Yeah,
pray
exactly.
for me, whatever. Take
I
me
just
to the
wanted to
doctor.
put that
Or
out
whatever.
there. Yeah. Yeah.
When I get home for the doctor, can I just have a decompressed ball?
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I had some time with a postpartum international group here in Georgia. After they had given their Black Maternal Mental Health Summit, which moved me beyond words. This is where I learned about that statistic of the 230 some odd times that we're more likely to pass away. Some of the solutions that they talked about were around how we manage our stress, were around how we eat, but also around keeping hospitals and health systems accountable to the statistics that were happening. And I know some of you, I have another mom in the room, but I could tell my birth story. And I'm sure many of you listening could tell your birth story. There may have been some hurdles that you overcame because you're Black. If you can be rich like Venus and Serena have the complications she did and have to advocate for herself, read the story like she did.
I got it right here.
Right. That when you don't have the money, or maybe you're not as educated in the health system, you're educated in your field but not in the health system, that there are things that happen. We're so much more likely to have a C-section. We're so much more likely to have incredible bleeding and postpartum complications. When I tell you the woman didn't even look at me and put my monitor on my belly to record the contractions. This is the place where you're too tired to advocate and you need someone. And so they have things like the Earth app, that's birth without the B, Earth, that is holding hospitals accountable to treatment that we receive in the hospital. Women of color can record their experience and tell what's happening.
That's good.
Getting into more conversations like these, like I said, when I spent some time with postpartum group of Postpartum Support International, and here in Georgia, my stress care retreat was taking care of them as survivors and caregivers because of their stress with dealing with so many maternal loss and so many women having miscarriages and having to go through infertility. I don't know if, as Black women, because we've been sexualized and made so like we can just have babies, so many of us are having a struggle with having babies. And, where do you go with that? And so I just want to bring up that there is conversation around these issues. We are talking about them and there are solutions being offered. So there is a Postpartum Support International group in your city, in your state, and they offer classes and community around this issue.
Yeah, that's
You know what's interesting? I wonder if it would be possible to come up with a database not focusing on the bad healthcare providers, but the healthcare providers that people have had great interactions with while giving birth, or dealing with diabetes, or dealing with heart disease, cancer, and anything that is a serious affliction that could lead to death. Because a database based on that will put a lot more good names out there and start to phase out the bad providers out there over time. I wonder if it would be possible to create a database like that and how impactful it would be.
Listen, there's an Angie's List started that way, right?
Right.
So, people like somebody like yourself, Brandy, right, could start something like that just the same way Angie did, and start to poll people around the country to figure out, okay, who are these healthcare providers, and start to put those in there, because it's a list. It's a list of recommended services, healthcare services, right? So I don't see anything wrong with that, but you just made me think about Angie's List when you said that, because I'm like, that's exactly what she did.
And this Earth app, I didn't mean to make accountability seem like all negative. It's just reporting your experience. But we do have reviews. We do have health grades. We do have ways to access. I think more so Yelp even grades health providers. And so we have access to some of these resources. We need to pay attention and do our due diligence when we go looking.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. So coming back to the story about Serena Williams, a lot of people don't realize how close Serena Williams came to possibly dying due to complications after the birth of her daughter. So I'm going to just break this story down real quick. So Serena Williams knew her body well enough to listen when it told her something was wrong. Winner of 23 Grand Slam singles titles, she'd been playing tennis since the age of 3, as a professional since 14. Along the way, she had survived a life-threatening blood clot in her lungs, bounced back from knee surgeries and the like. At 36, Williams was as powerful as ever. She could still devastate opponents with the power of a serve, once clocked at 128.6 miles an hour. So, in September of 2017, on the day after delivering her baby Olympia by emergency C-section, Williams lost her breath and recognized the warning signs of a serious condition, the lung clots mentioned earlier. So she walked out of her hospital room and approached a nurse. Williams later told Vogue magazine, gasping out her words, she said she feared another clot and needed a CT scan and an IV of heparin, which is a blood thinner. The nurse suggested that Williams' pain medication must be making her confused. Williams insisted that something was wrong, and a test was ordered, an ultrasound on her legs to address swelling. When that turned up nothing, she was finally sent for the lung CT. It found several blood clots, and just as Williams had suggested, heparin did the trick. She told Vogue, I was like, listen to Dr. Williams. Her ordeal wasn't over. Severe coughing had opened her C-section incision, and a subsequent surgery revealed a hemorrhage at that site. When Williams was finally released from the hospital, she was confined to her bed for 6 weeks. So somebody as powerful, well off, and well known can have these same issues. My question comes back to, is it access to health care, or is it the misconceptions about us?
Well, obviously.
Right.
So it's
We
time
have
to change
the
that.
statistics. I mean, we don't have to prove this to nobody.
No,
There's
the statistics are there.
You know, is what do we do?
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned knowing your body. Serena knew her body. Healthy, eating well, athletic. Found herself in this situation. And that's where our advocacy and our village comes in too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know when I was sick and had lost 45 pounds and wasn't able to have these conversations, having someone be able to have these conversations. Listen, you're not alone. You don't have to be strong. That ignoring of knowing who you are and taking care of yourself is over.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Absolutely.
It's killing you. I'm talking to you. It's killing you. And so regardless of how much money you get, regardless of how healthy you are, sometimes we find ourselves in these situations. And is being Black a factor? We know that. It doesn't mean we shut up.
Right.
That's right. That's right.
Is it fair? Of course not. We know what was the expectation. I mean, we got the judicial system, the law. We got every system has been built on the backs of slavery. We talk about in the medical analogs, they called us niggers, cattle, and did experiments on us. The expectation is not for the system
and that continues.
This continues. So don't get your feelings in the butt hurt about that. Because it's a distraction from you living your fullest life, knowing who you are, delving into the best way you can stay out of the doctor and stay out of the system, just like you try to stay out of that criminal justice system. Try and stay out of this system by handling your business. I'm going to eat well. I'm going to exercise. When I have stress escapes, like a bottle of wine or a box of chocolate or a whole thing of ice cream in the middle of the night.
Stay out of that. That's right.
Maybe I'm
But ladies, listen, we are already at the top of our time here on FEM Talk. Michele, you're going to have to come back because there's so much to unwind here when it comes to the healthcare system. We love everybody out there. We thank you for joining us here on FEM Talk. We want to make sure that you catch us next week at 8:30 p.m. right here on either Facebook Live. We don't know what happened with the Facebook today, but that's all right. We'll get that straightened out.
We're still going to download this video and put it on anyways.
That's right. Facebook, YouTube, and E360 TV. Go to E360 TV. You can get it on the mobile app. We love you, Michele. We thank you for coming on and sharing your expertise and your heart, because we see the passion in what you're doing. So we just thank you for that. And everybody, we will see you next week. We are out. Take care.